get my shit together and make 2025 my best year yet. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Today I am doing a reflect, reset and plan for 2025 with me so that I can get my shit together and make 2025 my best year yet. This time of year is so exciting and I feel like everyone's motivation is really high and they're so excited to get shit done, get everything planned so that they can make the new year the best year of their life. And I know I'm not alone when I say at the start of the year I get sucked into this trap of planning my goals and doing all the exciting things, and then I never look at my goals again and I go on with the rest of my year and just completely forget about it. But I'm determined to make this year the year that I set goals and I set actionable steps and I constantly review my goals to make sure that I'm actually working towards them. So I'm going to run you guys through what I'm doing to make sure that I can achieve this. So I started my 2025 reset by journaling this morning, as you would have seen. I just feel like it's so important to take a minute to sit down and reflect on the year that has been. I think going inward and reflecting on things is one of the most important things that you can do in life. So I took some time this morning to sit down, reflect on the past year, and then journal about what I want to achieve in the coming year. So the journal prompts that I journaled on, you would have quickly seen them, but I'll just run you through everything I journaled on. So the first one was what went well this year. The second one was what didn't go so well this year. And then thirdly, what do I want to leave in 2024? So those were my three journal prompts to reflect on the year that was a little bit. And then moving into journaling about 2025, this was pretty simple. All I asked myself was, how do I want to feel during 2025? That was the only journal prompt that I asked myself, keeping it super simple. And then I just wrote, what do I want to achieve in 2024? And then I wrote down all of the different pillars of my life. Obviously this is going to be a little bit different for everyone, but for me personally, I wrote personal, business, YouTube, financial and health. Those are, I feel like, the main pillars of my life. For other people that may be very different. Obviously you may not have a YouTube channel, you may have a different side hustle, you may have kids, whatever it may be, your pillars are probably going to be a little bit different. And then I just kind of brainstormed about what I want my goals to be in each of those categories. It was kind of just a brain dump. I didn't want to put any pressure on myself to write the goals in a particular way or anything like that. I just wanted to get the goals that were in my head out on paper, and then we will refine them a little bit more in a step that I am about to run you through. Okay, now moving into Notion. This is where I'm going to do the next little bit of my 2025 reset. Now, to be fully transparent, I don't entirely know what I'm doing on Notion. I am determined to become a Notion girly in 2025, but currently I'm still wrapping my head around it a little bit. So my Notion dashboard is not complete yet. This is just a rough draft and I am going to refine it a little bit more in the new year. So on my Notion dashboard, I've got a 2025 goals section, which I am going to open up here. Now, my goals that I wrote in my journal this morning, I am now going to grab all those goals and then write them into my Notion quickly. Okay, so these are roughly my 2025 goals. I literally just grabbed what I wrote in my journal and I popped it into Notion. Now we're going to refine this a little bit more because some of these are a little bit vague. You've probably heard of SMART goals, which basically means that you make your goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. I'm not going to fully follow that structure. I feel like it's a little bit too rigid, but I am going to try and make things a little bit more specific, a little bit more measurable wherever possible, and try and make them timely wherever possible. So I'm going to start from the start. So find my people. little bit vague. Essentially in the new year, I want to find a group of girls who I feel really aligned with. I have lots of beautiful friends who I love very dearly. However, they are now either traveling or they live in different states. And I really want to find my girls in my hometown who have the same passions as me, who are driven, who uplift me and charge me rather than drain me. So that is one of my big personal goals in 2025. I'm going to try and reword this though to be a little bit more specific. Okay, so I've reworded that to find at least one friend who I feel aligned with. I feel like a whole group of friends would be lovely, yes. However, one really good friend who I feel aligned with, who's in the same city as me, is more than I have at the moment. So I feel like that is a great place to start. Begin planning our wedding. I am going to leave that for now. That's a little bit of a grey area and will kind of depend on how the year goes and how we are financially and all those sorts of things. So I'm not going to try and make that specific or anything like that. Get a house we love on the Gold Coast. So we are planning on moving in the new year. So get a house we love on the Gold Coast. Obviously that in itself could mean any time throughout 2025, but I'm going to try and make that a little bit more specific because we do have just under 2 months until our lease ends at our current house. So we need to try and make sure that we have a new house by the time our lease ends. So I'm going to say get a house we love in Gold Coast by the 24th of February, I believe it is. Make more time for fun. So this year I feel like was a little bit of a work and survive rather than thrive year for me. So in the new year I want to try and focus a little bit more on spontaneity and having fun and having laughs and all those sorts of things. So I think I'm just going to say, how can I reword this? Do at least one fun / spontaneous thing every weekend. Put more effort into my appearance. I feel like this is one of those little things that play a pretty big role into how you feel, and I don't necessarily mean get dressed up fancy, do a full face of makeup, whatever it is. Just put a little bit more effort into my appearance so that I feel a little bit put together. And when I feel put together, I feel more confident. And when I feel more confident, I'm more likely to be successful in my business, be successful on YouTube, be successful in making good friendships, all those sorts of things. So I feel like that's something that I can do, which will kind of help with some of my other goals as well. So by that, I mean things like getting ready every day. So not just staying in my pajamas for the day. So getting dressed, doing my hair. It doesn't have to be any fancy way, just put it up in a bun, whatever it may be. Just make a conscious effort to do my hair. Maybe put on a little bit of makeup if I feel up to it. If not, just wash my face. Do some things like stay on top of keeping my eyebrows groomed, getting my nails done. That's one of the things that I am starting to do because I feel like it makes a difference to how I feel, is constantly having my nails done kind of pretty. And obviously that can get really expensive. So I actually just went out and I bought a like DIY home gel nail kit so that I can do my nails by myself at home, save money, but still feel a little bit more put together than when I do if I don't have my nails done. So I'm just gonna say, put more effort into my appearance dash, get ready at least 5 out of 7 days. Okay, next one we have decrease screen time. Obviously this is a little bit vague as well because decreasing it could mean 1 minute less than I currently am. So I'm actually gonna get my screen time up on my phone and see what my screen time average has been. Okay, so the last few weeks, my daily average, so last week was 4.5 hours a day. Previous week was 6 hours and 40 minutes a day. So I know compared to some people, my screen time isn't that bad, but I still feel like my screen time and death scrolling is one of my biggest downfalls. It's one of the things that hold me back the most because I so often will get stuck into procrastinating and scrolling rather than doing a number of other things that I should be doing instead. So I am going to say, now this is where it gets kind of tricky because I want to set a goal around my screen time, but with my fiance working away, the week that he is away, my screen time is a lot higher because we FaceTime, we text, all those sorts of things. So I spend more time on my phone communicating with him. So I think I need to have like a separate goal for his home weeks versus his away weeks. So I'm gonna say less than 4 hours screen time on Lucas's away week. Less than 3, no, I don't want a love heart. Okie dokie, now business. This is something I have not mentioned on my YouTube yet because it's still kind of on the down low. Haven't officially announced this anywhere, but I am planning to start my own business in the new year. I am going to be a virtual assistant specifically for personal trainers and online coaches. So if you don't know, a couple years ago I was a personal trainer and online coach. I ran my own business for just under 2 years, I believe, and I ended up taking a step back due to a couple reasons. However, I loved working for myself. I loved the flexibility and freedom that that gave me with my time. So I have been longing to work for myself again. So I have decided that I'm going to open up a virtual assistant services business because the admin side of running a personal trainer business was the part that I loved so much and thrived in. So I thought that would be the perfect business for me. So my business goal is really just to launch Teagan Parsons VA services. All I'm going to do here is try and put a date on it. So I'm going to say by the 30, is there 31 or 30 days in January? Jesus. 31st of January. Okay, get monetized. One of my biggest dreams in life, which basically just means, for those of you that don't know, to get monetized on YouTube means that you can put ads throughout your video and then make money off having those ads. So basically it just means to start earning money off YouTube. That is the goal. So for this one, it's a pretty big goal and I am gonna be realistic and I'm gonna give myself all year. So I'm just gonna say get monetized by the 31st of December. And then in order to make this happen, I think I need to break it down a little bit more and set some other goals that will help me get there. So I am going to say upload at least 50 videos, which is basically 1 per week, allowing myself to miss 2 because sometimes life happens. So upload at least 50 videos. That is going to help to get me there. And then for my health, I just have that I want to balance my hormones to get a regular cycle. So my hormones are a little bit out of whack at the moment. I was seeing a naturopath at the beginning to middle of the year. I have, however, stopped now because it was getting a little bit expensive. We definitely improved my hormones and my cycle, however it's still not where I would like it to be. So change that goal to have a cycle less than 35 days 3 times in a row. Now a healthy cycle is considered 28 days. However, I'm currently ranging between like 40 and 50 days per cycle. So I'm not going to shoot for the stars and say I'm going to get to exactly 28 every single month. I'm just going to say I want to get within 35 days for at least 3 months in a row. And lastly, we have my financial goal of earning $45,000 gross. This income goal may not seem like a lot to you, and honestly it is kind of small. However, I personally don't think this year is going to be the year of high income for me. I think this year is going to be setting my roots, starting out my business, which is never financially amazing at the beginning, starting out my business, getting settled on the Gold Coast, enjoying life more, all those sorts of things. So I don't think this year is going to be the year that I really knuckle down and try and focus on earning a really high income. However, obviously I still have bills to pay, I still need to get an income, so 45,000 is just the number that I am aiming for, that I feel like is achievable and will help Lucas and I get by comfortably. So those are my goals for 2025. Now, the part that matters the most is making a plan for how you're going to reach these goals. Because remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So we need to come up with some sort of plan on how we're going to make these goals actually happen. Every single year, I have done the thing where I will sit down, I will write my goals out exactly like I just have. I'll write them somewhere and then I'll forget about them and I'll never look at them again, and I won't set any tasks and I won't set any habits or plans or anything like that. So I'll set my tasks and then I forget about them and I inevitably don't reach my goals. So the thing that I think is going to make the most difference to me actually reaching these goals this year is my monthly resets and my monthly check-ins, because we have 12 months in a year. If I'm resetting at the end of every single month and checking back in with my goals, that is 12 chances for me to remind myself of my goals and realign with my goals. So as part of my monthly reset, number one, I'm simply just going to reopen my 2025 goals tab in Notion and just look at them again and remind myself of what I wanted to achieve this year. And if I need to adjust things, I can, because life is going to happen. Things will change, some of my goals will change, so I may need to adjust goals, add some goals on, or even just completely delete some goals. So that's number one. As part of my monthly check-in, I'm just going to check back in with my monthly goals and remind myself of what I wanted to achieve this year. And then after I have checked back in with my yearly goals, I am going to then create smaller bite-sized monthly goals, which I don't currently have a tab for yet, but I will create one. It'll basically just be a tab similar to my 2025 goals, where it'll just say monthly goals, and I'll just write out smaller bite-sized goals that are going to help me work towards these bigger goals. So I'm going to set monthly goals. The other two things that I'm going to do is set tasks according to these goals and set habits according to my goals. So I have a weekly planner here in my Notion, and you'll see right down the bottom here I have a master to-do list. This is going to house all of the things that I need to do. Now, I could sit here and write out my to-do list for the entire year. However, I feel like that's a little bit overwhelming. So instead, what I'm going to do is in my monthly reset, look at my goals, set monthly goals, and then set my to-do list only for the month ahead based off of that goal. So I'm going to do my January reset at another time, but I'm just going to show you guys roughly what I mean. So let's say here are my 2025 goals. In January, I want to start working towards finding at least one friend. I have this goal of launching my business in January, so that's going to be a big focus for me in January. I'm just going to sort of look at these things, set my goals for January, and then pop in my tasks. So the goal of in January launching my business, one of my tasks could be registering for an ABN, which is just an Australian business number. Due date could be, let's just say 31st of January, needs to get done by then. And then I've also got a priority section. So priority, that's a pretty high priority. You need an ABN to run a business in Australia. So that status, I haven't started that yet. And then tags, I'm gonna put that under TPVA, which is my tag for Teagan Parsons Virtual Assistant Services. So I'm just gonna go through and put in all of my tasks in accordance with what I want to achieve in January. The last thing that I'm going to do in 2025 to keep the needle moving towards my big goals is I'm going to use a habit tracker. And now this is just a random one that I got off Canva and printed out. I tell myself if I used my habit tracker consistently, I would go and purchase a proper physical habit tracker, but I just got this one off Canva. There's heaps on Canva, heaps on Google. There's also heaps of habit trackers that you can use on Notion. However, I wanted to use a physical habit tracker just because of the time of day that I fill out my habit tracker. I personally like to fill out my habit tracker at the end of the day when I'm lying in bed, and I really don't want to be on my phone or on my computer at the end of the day. So for that reason, I'm going to use a physical habit tracker instead of a digital habit tracker. So this is just going to be for all the micro habits that we show in and day out, which help to make us the person that we want to be be in order to move towards our goals. So the habit tracker is only 31 days, as you can see. So this is something that I am going to fill out at the start of every month. After I have set my goals out for the month, I will sit down and set my habits on my habit tracker for the month accordingly. If you get a little bit stuck here and you aren't really sure what habits to write down that'll move the needle towards your goals, something I did which I thought was kind of cool and pretty helpful was I went onto ChatGPT and I wrote down all of my goals. So I copy and pasted all of my goals into ChatGPT, and I said, can you write out some daily/weekly/monthly tasks or habits which will help me achieve these goals? And they gave me a bunch of recommendations. Obviously, I'm not going to use all of them because they don't all work for me, but they're really good just for a little bit of inspo. Alrighty, here is my habit tracker filled out for the month of January. This isn't quite done because I am running out of time, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this later, thinking up some habits. So essentially all you do, so I've got all of my habits over on the side here. I've got walk 30 minutes, post on Instagram. Some of these, like this one and weekly reset, aren't things obviously that I expect myself to do every single day, but I kind of just still want to keep track of how often I do them, which is why I put them on here. Edit, less than 4 hours of screen time, eat every 3 hours. This one relates back to my balancing my hormones goal, because balancing out your blood sugar is really important for balancing hormones, and in order to balance your blood sugar you need to make sure that you are eating consistently. So that relates to that goal. High protein brekkie once again relates to the balancing blood sugar, therefore balancing my hormones goal. 8 hours of sleep, I'm sure we all know by now why sleep is so important, so I've got that there. And then the weekly reset, because that is also something that moves the needle forward towards my big goals. Okay, now last but certainly not least, I'm quickly just going to make a vision board that I can set as the background for my computer, so that I can have a constant reminder every single time I open up my laptop of what I want my life to look like and what I am working towards. So I'm just going to do this in Canva. I just googled how many pixels my laptop screen was, and then I created a custom design based off of that. So I'm just going to jump on Pinterest, because Pinterest has the best photos, and I'm going to quickly go through and search for a bunch of photos that are related to my goals. Alright my loves, we've reflected on 2024, set new goals for 2025, and figure out what we need to do to make sure that we actually stick to those goals, and made a vision board and put it somewhere that we will see it every single day, so that we are constantly reminded of the life that we are working towards. I hope you enjoyed this video and coming along on my 2025 reset. I would love to know what your goals are and what you're working towards in 2025, so leave a comment letting me know. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in my next video.